Imagine this. You're in your 50s, maybe 60s. You sit down to read, and the page just fades. You squint. You adjust the light. You rub your eyes. It's not just tiredness. Something deeper is changing, quietly, gradually, in the back of your eyes and deep within your brain. Here's what most people don't realize. Your vision isn't just about your eyes. It's about your brain's ability to process, sharpen, and prioritize what you see. And the decline that many chalk up to just getting older is not inevitable. In fact, one specific nutrient, a vitamin, has been shown to preserve your vision and even reverse neural aging in the visual system. Now, I know that sounds like a big claim, but the neuroscience is clear. The macula, the part of your retina responsible for sharp, central vision, begins to degrade in your 40s and 50s. That's not a surprise. What is surprising is that a vitamin we've known about for decades, when taken consistently, can actually slow, and in some cases halt, this neural degeneration. Here's the thing. This isn't just about better eyesight. It's about protecting the visual pathways that feed into your memory, your focus, your emotional regulation. The health of your visual system is tightly connected to how your brain performs, from reading and driving to recognizing faces and interpreting emotions. In this episode, we're going to break it all down. Why vision decline accelerates after 50 and what's happening in the brain. The one vitamin that directly protects and enhances visual processing, according to multiple peer-reviewed studies. The mechanism, not just in the eye, but in the cortex. How to supplement intelligently, including dosage, timing, and what to avoid. A simple visual habit that trains the brain to stay sharper. And how your mood, memory, and even sleep improve when you preserve your visual circuitry. It's not just about seeing more clearly. It's about thinking more clearly, too. Let's get into the science. Here's something people rarely think about. Vision is not just about the eyes. In fact, most of what we call seeing happens in the brain. Light enters through your cornea, yes. But it's your visual cortex, a region in the back of your brain, that interprets, prioritizes, and sharpens the image. And this system is deeply tied to aging. Here's what the research shows. Beginning in your 40s and accelerating into your 50s and 60s, neurons in the visual cortex begin to lose efficiency. Not because they die, but because they become sluggish. They fire less precisely. The insulation around them, called myelin, starts to fray. And as a result, contrast sensitivity drops. Color perception weakens. Reading in low light becomes harder. This isn't just inconvenience. It's your brain signaling that it needs support. One study published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that age-related visual decline correlates not just with retinal wear, but with changes in cortical plasticity, the brain's ability to adapt and maintain sharp sensory processing. That's where vitamin, specifically retinol and its derivatives, comes into play. Now, most people think of vitamin A as the eye vitamin. That's true, but what's less talked about is its role in the brain. Vitamin A supports the synthesis of rhodopsin, a pigment in the retina essential for night vision. But more importantly, it also supports neurotransmitter regulation and gene expression in neurons tied to visual processing. This means it helps both the hardware, your retina, and the software, your cortex, stay functional. Here's a practical protocol. For people over 50, 5,000 IU of pre-formed vitamin A, retinol palmitate, taken a few times per week with fat-containing meals, can support ocular and neural health. If you have liver concerns or already supplement a multivitamin, go lower, around 2,500 IU, and monitor intake. Do not megadose. Vitamin A is fat-soluble and can build up. This is a precision tool, not a blunt instrument. And here's an empowering insight. Your brain responds quickly to nutrient signals. Visual clarity is one of the first things people report improving when vitamin A levels return to optimal range. Not just sharper vision, but improved confidence reading menus, road signs, even facial expressions in dim light. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing because we break down more neuroscience-backed tools like this every week. Here's part 3, Core Insight 2. This one focuses on the macula, a key part of your vision system that most people don't even realize is being quietly damaged as they age. We'll introduce the second key vitamin here too. Let's break something down that almost no one talks about. Even many physicians overlook this. The macula, a small spot near the center of your retina, is not just about eyesight. It's one of your brain's primary sensory filters. It's responsible for sharp, central vision, and more importantly, it determines what information your brain pays attention to. When your macula deteriorates, you don't just lose sharpness, you start losing access to critical sensory data. Faces become harder to read. Letters blur. Night driving feels dangerous. But what's happening isn't just in the eye. It's a neural bottleneck, a failure in the sensory priority system that helps your brain make sense of the world. So, what's damaging the macula in your 50s, 60s, and beyond? Blue light and oxidative stress. You're constantly exposed to high-energy blue light from screens, indoor LEDs, and sunlight. Over time, this triggers oxidative damage in the retina, particularly in the macula. And when free radicals overwhelm the eye's natural defenses, that's when macular degeneration starts to creep in. Here's where science gives us a clear tool: lutein. Lutein is a carotenoid, a pigment found in leafy greens like spinach and kale. But more importantly, it accumulates in the macula and acts like internal sunglasses, filtering blue light before it can cause harm. A double-blind, placebo-controlled study published in JAMA Ophthalmology found that supplementing with lutein and zeaxanthin, another macular pigment, not only improved visual function, but also slowed the progression of age-related macular degeneration. Here's a simple protocol you can use. Daily intake of 10 milligrams lutein and 2 milligrams zeaxanthin, ideally with a meal containing healthy fats like olive oil or avocado. Pair this with foods rich in both compounds: dark leafy greens, egg yolks, corn, and orange peppers. Give it 8 to 12 weeks. Most people notice an increase in contrast sensitivity and reduced eye strain around that window. And if you're wondering, yes, this also impacts your brain. There's evidence that lutein crosses the blood-retina and blood-brain barriers and is found in brain regions involved in memory and cognition, which means you're not just supporting your eyes, you're protecting long-term neural performance. A simple way to think about it: clearer eyes, clearer mind. In the next part, we're going to talk about the connection between eye health and mood regulation, and why your emotional resilience might actually depend on how well you see. But before we move on, if this breakdown is giving you practical tools you can use, I'd love it if you subscribed. This channel is for people who want to understand their bodies and minds at a deeper level, and we do that here, one system at a time. Part 4, Core Insight 3, How Vision Shapes Emotion and What to Do About It. Here's something most people have never been told. The way you see the world physically affects how you feel emotionally. And I don't mean metaphorically, I mean neurologically. The visual system and the emotional regulation centers in your brain are tightly connected. So as your eyesight starts to subtly decline after 50, you may not just feel frustrated. You may feel more anxious, withdrawn, or even depressed. And here's why. The retina, the back layer of your eye, doesn't just send light signals. It sends priority signals to your brain. Think of it as a high-speed courier delivering real-time data to areas like your amygdala, emotion, hypothalamus, stress response, and prefrontal cortex, decision-making and emotional control. One key study from the Journal of Neuroscience found that retinal input directly influences mood-regulating circuits, and that reduced visual contrast was linked to heightened stress sensitivity. In plain terms, when your eyes have to work harder to decode the world, your brain shifts into low-grade threat detection. You're more likely to feel reactive, distracted, or fatigued. This is especially true in low-light environments, restaurants, winter mornings, late evenings. So here's the takeaway. Better vision supports better emotional regulation. And here's a practical, science-backed tool you can start using today. Light exposure protocols. Specifically, morning sunlight. Getting 10 to 15 minutes of natural light exposure within the first hour after waking up. Ideally outdoors, not through a window, does three critical things. It stimulates the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, IPRGCs, in your eyes, which help regulate your circadian rhythm. It reduces baseline cortisol levels later in the day, improving stress resilience. It trains your visual system to maintain higher contrast sensitivity and acuity. Add to this, look into the distance during that time, not at a screen or a book. Just let your eyes soften and take in the wider visual field. This engages the parasympathetic nervous system, the part that calms you down and improves focus. You'll start to notice a subtle but powerful shift. Less tension behind the eyes, more clarity in thought, and steadier moods, especially in the second half of the day. So if you felt off emotionally in your 50s or beyond, a little more irritable, distracted, or blue, don't just look inward. Look outward. Literally. Visual health is emotional health. Coming up in the next part, we'll dig into how screen use and artificial light are hijacking your visual circuits, and how a small shift in nighttime behavior can make your eyes and brain feel 10 years younger. Stick around. Part 5. Core Insight 4. Screens are aging your eyes and how to reverse it. Here's a tough truth that most people don't want to hear, but need to. If you're over 50 and you're looking at screens at night without protection, you're accelerating the aging of your eyes and your brain. Let's break it down. Every screen, your phone, your TV, your laptop, emits high-energy blue light. During the day, some blue light is actually beneficial. It boosts alertness, sharpens reaction time, and helps regulate your circadian rhythm. But at night, it's a different story. The blue light spectrum suppresses melatonin production, delays sleep onset, and more importantly, keeps your visual system in a state of hypervigilance. Your eyes stay contracted, your pupils don't dilate fully, and the neural circuits that should be winding down remain overstimulated. And here's the deeper issue. The aging retina becomes more vulnerable to light-induced oxidative stress. In your 50s and beyond, your eyes produce fewer endogenous antioxidants like glutathione and superoxide dismutase. That means every hour of nighttime screen use causes more cellular stress than it did in your 20s or 30s. A 2019 paper published in Scientific Reports found that chronic exposure to blue light damages photoreceptor cells in the retina, even in low intensities, and the effect is worse in older tissue. This isn't about paranoia. It's about physiology. Now, here's how to fight back with two simple tools. 1. Behavioral tool, nighttime light discipline. At least 90 minutes before bed, reduce all exposure to overhead LEDs and screens. Use warm-toned lights in your home, below 2,700 K temperature. If you must use screens, enable night shift mode, or use apps like f.lux that lower blue light intensity. Even better, wear blue light filtering glasses, specifically those that block the 450 to 480 nanometers range. 2. Nutritional tool, vitamin C plus zinc combo. These two micronutrients play a massive role in retinal antioxidant defense. Vitamin C helps regenerate other antioxidants in the eye, like vitamin E and glutathione. Zinc, on the other hand, supports retinal enzyme function and night vision. Here's a simple protocol. 500 to 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day. Buffered or liposomal forms are easier on the stomach. 15 to 30 milligrams of zinc as picolinate or citrate. Ideally not at the same time as iron, as they compete for absorption. Take both with dinner or your last meal of the day. That's when your body is prepping for recovery. What's happening in your brain when you do this is a shift from defend mode to repair mode. You're reducing oxidative load in the retina, which allows your visual and sleep systems to reset, improving sleep quality, eye comfort, and even next-day mood. So if your eyes feel tired, dry, or strained at night, if you've been waking up with that dull ache behind your brow or taking longer to fall asleep, this might be why. And the good news? You can reverse the trend. The visual system is remarkably plastic, meaning it can bounce back when given the right support. In the next part, we're going to talk about something people often ignore: how poor vision impacts memory, and what the science says about training both at the same time. If this is resonating, give this video a like. It helps this information reach others who need it, and it tells us you want more content like this. Let's keep going. Part 6, Core Insight 5. Vision is a memory system, and you can train both. Here's something rarely discussed, but once you hear it, it makes perfect sense. Your memory is deeply visual, not just metaphorically, literally. The hippocampus, the brain's memory center, is tightly wired to your visual system. When you remember something vividly, you're often recalling not just facts, but visual scenes, faces, spatial layouts, even colors. And when your vision starts to decline, even slightly, your memory starts to slip with it. This is why older adults with mild visual impairment consistently perform worse on memory tasks, even when their hearing, attention, and general cognition are still intact. A large-scale study published in the Journals of Gerontology found that participants over the age of 65 who had uncorrected vision issues showed significantly faster cognitive decline, especially in working memory and spatial reasoning. So what's the mechanism? It's about sensory input and processing quality. When your brain receives degraded visual data, blurry, low contrast, poorly lit, it spends more energy trying to make sense of it. That leaves less capacity for memory formation, attention, and higher-level cognition. It's like trying to study in a noisy room with bad lighting. Your brain is busy managing the chaos instead of storing the information. So what can you do? Here's a 2-part training protocol. Simple, research-backed, and effective. 1. Visual spatial memory drill, 5 minutes daily. Each morning or afternoon, take a physical object, a book, a set of keys, a cup, and place it in a random spot in your room. Stare at it for 15 seconds. Then close your eyes and visualize not just the object, but the space around it, colors, angles, shadows. Now walk away. Come back 10 minutes later. Recall where it was, what it looked like, and how it sat in space. This activates your dorsal stream, the where pathway in your visual cortex, and ties it to hippocampal encoding. Over time, this sharpens both visual acuity and spatial memory. 2. Nutritional support. Omega-3s for retinal brain signaling. DHA, docosahexaenoic acid, a form of omega-3, makes up a huge portion of the retinal photoreceptors and the hippocampus. Supplementing with 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of DHA and EPA combined per day has been shown to enhance memory, processing speed, and visual clarity. Look for triglyceride form omega-3s, better absorbed, easier on the gut. Here's what people often report after a few weeks. Better object recall. I remember where I left my phone. Improved facial recognition in crowds. More vivid dreams, a sign of deeper visual memory activation. And interestingly, more confidence in conversation because memory recall feels more fluid. You're not just feeding your eyes. You're rebuilding a bridge between sight and recall. In the final core section, we'll go one level deeper into neuroplasticity, how the brain actually rewires in response to visual training and micronutrient intake, and how to lock in long-term gains. We're almost there. Let's finish strong. The final core idea before we move to the conclusion. This section ties everything together by explaining how neuroplasticity supports long-term improvements in vision and cognitive function, and what you can do daily to reinforce those gains. Part 7, Locking in Gains. Neuroplasticity and visual rewiring after 50. If you've been following along, You've already seen that your eyes and brain don't age in isolation. They change together, for better or worse. Here's the key concept to understand now. Your visual system is plastic, even after 50, which means it can adapt, improve, and rewire if given the right inputs. Neuroplasticity is your brain's ability to form new connections. For most of your life, it's happening passively. But after your 40s and 50s, you need to trigger it more deliberately. And vision. It's one of the best gateways. A study published in Nature Neuroscience showed that targeted visual training can improve not just sight, but cortical function, especially in older adults. Participants engaged in 30-minute visual tasks for just 8 weeks. And not only did contrast sensitivity improve, but fMRI scans showed increased activity in the primary visual cortex and adjacent association areas. Translation: when you train your eyes, your brain adapts, and that adaptation sticks. So how do you apply that? Here's a simple 3-part neuroplasticity protocol. 1. Purposeful visual engagement, 5 to 10 minutes/day. Choose a visually rich activity that requires detail and depth. Sketching, assembling small objects, solving puzzles, reading in natural light. The key is focused attention, not background scrolling or passive TV. What's happening? You're forcing your visual cortex to sharpen its signal-to-noise ratio, which promotes myelination and strengthens pathways. 2. Combine visual work with movement. The vestibular system, balance, and visual system are tightly linked. Practice eye tracking during walks. Look at distant objects, shift to near, repeat. Or try a simple tennis ball drill. Toss it side to side between hands while tracking with your eyes. This cross-links your motor and sensory systems, amplifying plasticity effects. 3. Reinforce with recovery, sleep, light, and nutrients. Neuroplasticity is stimulated during activity, but encoded during rest. So aim for 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep and avoid blue light at least an hour before bed to protect melatonin. Nutrition matters here too. You already know about vitamin A, lutein, DHA. Add to that magnesium L-threonate, shown to cross the blood-brain barrier and enhance synaptic density in aging brains. Taken together, what you're doing is this: activating your visual cortex with precision inputs, linking those inputs to other brain systems through motion, and reinforcing them through deep recovery. That's how you move from temporary gains to lasting functional upgrades. And it doesn't require hours of work. Just a few daily shifts, 5 minutes of targeted vision training, 5 minutes of visual motor coordination, smart supplementation, and consistent sleep. Your eyes are not fading. They're asking to be re-engaged. Your brain is not slowing down. It's waiting for a new signal. And after 50, that signal is entirely in your hands. Next, I'll take us into the final conclusion, where we'll recap, reinforce the why, and leave your viewers with one powerful challenge to implement starting today. Conclusion: see sharper, think clearer, live better. Let's bring it all together. By now, you've seen that vision, true vision, is far more than eyesight. It's brain function. It's emotional regulation. It's memory. It's clarity in every sense of the word. Here's why this matters. If you're in your 50s, 60s, or beyond, you've got decades ahead of you. And how you see, literally, will shape how you live them. This isn't about avoiding decline. It's about creating momentum. Protecting your vision means driving confidently at night, reading without squinting, feeling calm because your brain is receiving clear, accurate input, holding sharper conversations because your memory doesn't skip, and keeping that spark of curiosity alive because when you see well, you engage fully. So here's your challenge. Choose one tool from this episode and apply it today. And after 50, supporting your visual system isn't optional. It's foundational. Here's what the research shows and what you now know how to act on. Your eyes age because your brain ages. But targeted vitamin A can help maintain the integrity of your retina and the neurons that interpret vision. Your macula acts like a neural filter. Protecting it with lutein and zeaxanthin isn't just smart, it's essential. Mood and emotional regulation are visually driven. Morning light exposure and visual rest at night aren't lifestyle hacks, they're biology tools. Blue light and screen overexposure accelerate neural fatigue. You can reverse that trend with light hygiene, antioxidant support, and zinc. Your memory depends on your eyes. Training your spatial awareness and supporting DHA levels helps you remember names, faces, and moments. And finally, your brain's ability to change, neuroplasticity, is alive and available. All it needs is the right signals and recovery. Add that 10 milligrams lutein supplement to your breakfast. Step outside tomorrow morning for that 10 minutes of light. Do one 5-minute visual memory drill. Switch your phone to night mode an hour before bed. Swap in a warm light bulb where you read. Just one. Start small. But do it today, not tomorrow. Your visual system is ready. Your brain is listening. And the changes begin faster than you think. If this resonated, I'd love for you to subscribe. Not for numbers, but because this channel is for people who want to understand themselves at a deeper level and apply real science to live sharper, calmer, longer lives. That's the mission here. And if something you learned helped you see more clearly, in mind or body, drop a comment. Let me know what tool you're trying first. Let others learn from your momentum. Because this isn't about hacks. It's about mastery. And it starts with how you see the world. Literally.